This is Sushma, and we're going to do Homeopathy Nook today, October 28th, Saturday. And our internet is not working all that great again, but that's okay. You will get this eventually. This is from Kopiker's earliest days of practice. And from his earliest days of watching homeopathy cure illnesses, diseases. And what he's saying is a very important observation. Pardon the squeaking. I and my grandson had put oil in this, but he's not around to help me with that. And one of these days I need to oil my armchair and it will not squeak anymore. Anyhow, Kopiker says, from the earliest days of his observing or studying homeopathic cures, that is from July of 1932, I had admired the magical improvements and cures of serious acute diseases like cholera, malaria, flu, dysentery, diarrhea, pneumonia, and even 3 or 4 cases of diphtheria, both in recorded cases in the old journals of the time of Lipp, Allen, Wells, Dunham, Nash, and others, as well as the beautiful snapshot hits of the right remedies by my uncle and also my teachers in Calcutta. So it's homeopathy, the law of similars works no matter what. So if there's not a cure, it's the fault of the homeopath and not homeopathy. And that's the point he's trying to make, and that's the point I would make to you. If something doesn't work, reread your Materia Medica and it will work. If you didn't get it right the first time, or you got 10 or 15% of the action of the remedy that you needed, you will get it on the second and third shot, and eventually you'll get good at it. So don't give up hope, and think about why this principle of similarium applies. Because it is like gravity. It's a fundamental law, and you cannot contravene that law. So anyhow, every homeopath wants to be a hero. Every homeopath wanted to have these hits. But many times, just doing it on mental symptoms, just doing it on general characteristics did not help. And so you have to be enterprising, you have to be imaginative, you have to be creative, and look at the different types of pathologies and treat them very, very differently. And this was a hard lesson that Kopiker learned after a lot of trying it the other way. And it behooves us to see what he did, learn from him, so we don't do the same things. We don't make the same mistakes. I found out that Allen's keynotes and Boger's synoptic key held the keys to these remarkable cures. Just one little odd thing in that patient led to a remedy that cured. I was a serious and thorough student of Materia Medica and almost learned by heart the keynotes, at least by referring to a few pages. I could find the right symptoms for my prescriptions. It was a joy to be able to help hundreds of patients through this method. But there are some problems that are so urgent and so serious that this method is not enough. When a person is dying, when a cancer is raging out of control, when a person is bleeding, you need a faster cure, a way to stem the tide of disease faster. For example, real pathologically affected problems like hydrocele or elephantiasis, big legs, filaria, tuberculosis, locomotor ataxia, paralysis of your arms and limbs, fibroids, tubercular glands, and really bad tonsils and adenoid growths, rheumatoid and osteoarthritis, bony growths, even warts of some varieties, nevus, leprosy, and such destructive, proliferative diseases were not cured by this type of keynote prescribing. So he got a lot of success from keynotes, but there are certain pathologies that required the pathological similarium. I'll give you an example. When I came here after 6 months in Goa just now, every time I went near the mulch pile or tried to wheelbarrow a barrow full of mulch, I would get serious allergies. I would sniff and sniffle, and I'd have shortness of breath and this and that. I took 1 or 2 doses of histaminium 30C. I just don't have it anymore. I just don't have those allergies. So the simillimum for me was histaminium, which I would never have thought unless some homeopath mentioned it somewhere as a reason for him becoming a homeopath. Anyhow, histaminium worked like magic for me. I had tried other remedies that had not worked. So you never know. Read, think, read a lot, and you will hit the right remedy. After attending more than 102 seminars, conferences, lectures, and also discussing with honest senior homeopaths, I think these and quite a few diseases are not cured by homeopaths, either trying the keynote system or the holistic, psychosoma-based, mental hunting classical homeopathy. Just doesn't work. What works? There was one serious disease of children, especially of high caste, vegetarians in Madras, called infantile cirrhosis of liver, spleen also affected. I have a feeling I had this when I was very, very young, living in Nasik, and I got a serious case of what they call jaundice. And I remember my mother taking me to a homeopath and giving me liver soup. I was cured of it, but apparently I was very, very sick and close to death. 2 or 3 native medicine practitioners claimed to cure this and did good work. I, Kopikar, failed miserably for 2 years. Then Burnett gave me a hope, and I got his liver remedies: chelidonium, cardus marinus, hydrastis, leptandra, murk dulcis, etc., and magmure and magcarb and magmure, natsal, and so on. And on his indications, use them in Q, which is to say a tincture, or very low potencies. Tincture meaning, I think it's 1 to 10 or something like that. Or very low potencies, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6C, or X potencies even. And I also got known as a curer of this dreaded disease. It was pathological homeopathy as advised by Burnett. So if you have a deep pathology, something like this is going to work for you. Madras was famous for 2 other things. Madras summer boils, also called Madras boils, and Madras eye. You got these horrible boils, you got blepharitis type conditions in your eyes if the boils got into your eyes. Only after a purely pathological prescription of 3 or 4 specifics, I mastered the disease. Madras boils with a 100% cure rate, and curing and aborting even ripe, deep abscesses within a week. The standard prescription, with slight modification as needed by the Constitution, was number 1, arnica 1M, number 2, sulfur 1M, or Merxol 1M, depending on the maturity of the boils. So if it was not fully mature, arnica; if it was mature, sulfur or Merxol probably, and then sulfur later. Heparsulf 30 to 1M and tuberculinum 1M after 10 to 15 days to keep it from reoccurring and to finish it off. But the real secret, I thought, was in the use of a magical remedy. Magical is my word, not his. Gunpowder, because I have found this to be magical as well. 3x, 3 to 4 doses daily in between the high potencies. I must have used pounds of this great gunpowder. I learned it from Clark's dictionary. He calls the Clark Materia Medica dictionary. It is a kind of a dictionary of pathology as well as a Materia Medica, and his small booklet. So, whenever strangers meet us in trains or journeys, do we not get questions like this? Doctor, my daughter or some patient suffers from ugly warts on face and neck, and they're growing in number. They say homeopaths cure warts. In the US, people don't know that, but in India, people do know that homeopaths are the only ones who can cure warts. Could you help? The development of a wart or wen or a nevus is a peculiar pathology, and luckily for us, our master and others found their remedies. Hundreds of these have been cured by us with our thuya, causticum, natrums, dulcamara, and nitricum acidum. And other remedies, basing our prescriptions only on location and type of trouble, not based on mental makeup of the patient, who may or may not even be seen by us. So that, folks, is the magic of homeopathy. There was another key remedy that Margaret Tyler actually discovered. She was a perfect Hahnemannian homeopath, but she gave us 3 great remedies, all based on thinking pathologically. Not the 3-legged stools, not mentals, not generals, not Buddha, just the pathology. The first one is Drosera in tuberculosis. It has cured innumerable cases of primary complex in children and their allergic bronchitis. It has cured TB of the glands and joints. Next wonderful remedy, and you can read about this by a Dr. Curie, that is Madame Marie Curie's dad in Drug Pictures. Next wonderful remedy is Tarantula cubensis and carbuncles. These are boils. Tarantula is a spider, poisonous spider, and the cubensis remedy works like magic on these boils, clusters of boils. The third was for me a great help. It was terebinthina in kidney trouble. Well, with this, glenoinum and serum anguillaris, we have some great hope for kidney patients. I need not mention that her greatest work was in the practical use of nosodes of acute viruses and infections in extremely difficult and even incurable cases. Long live Margaret Taylor's memory and magical cures. So what he's saying is, a good homeopath doesn't stand on tradition, doesn't stand on theory, although he applies it, he or she. They are looking to see what will help and cure the patient, and they have learned developed some surprising insights by simply practicing for 70 years and seeing one technique not work on certain things or the other. And that's where it helps to be an open-minded homeopath and a knowledgeable one, and one who's always seeking to cure his patients. And the same applies for you and your dogs. When I speak of homeopaths, I speak of homeopathists who are looking after their families, women and children and men who are looking after their families and pets and plants. That is to say, you folks, learn about this, read about this. If you can read and think, I think you can, with about 30, 40 good remedies, do a lot to help you and yours. And that's Homeopathy Nook for this Saturday, October 28th. Goodbye, and I'll see you soon.